This happened to me 7 years ago. I'm 20 years old now. My parents were away for a family emergency. I'm an only child and not really scared when my parents leave as I normally stay home alone. It was the third night by myself. I was playing video games and eating junk food when I heard a knock at the door. I wondered who could be knocking on someone's door at a late time like this. I could see the man peeping through the small glass window surrounding the door. He was yelling, "I'm really hurt. Please let me come in." "What's wrong?" I asked. He said he had broken his foot. This seemed kind of weird to me. I asked how he broke it, and he told me he was taking a walk around the neighborhood, tripped, and his foot landed in an odd way. He was begging me and screaming, telling me if he gets really hurt, he's going to sue me for not helping him. I told him I would call an ambulance and he must wait outside. "If you don't let me in, I'll slit your throat and cut up your body parts," he yelled through the door. As soon as he said that, I grabbed my dad's shotgun that he keeps on the highest shelf in the kitchen and phoned the police. I told the man the police are on their way. He told me they won't make it in time. He was trying to bust open my dining room window. The way he was hitting it, it looked as if it was about to break. I quickly ran upstairs into my room and decided to hide under my bed. I called 911 and the operator told me they would be there in a couple of minutes. As soon as the operator said that, I heard the window break. He must have found a rock in my front yard. I could hear him checking all the rooms downstairs. Then I heard him coming up the stairs. He checked my parents' bedroom and the closet. I heard him trying to open my door. I gripped the shotgun tightly in my hand and waited for him to break down the door. He was now kicking it as hard as he could. In just a couple of hits, he knocked it down. I could see his feet. He tried to open the closet door in my room, which I had locked on purpose to confuse him. "I know you're in there," he said. I was wondering, should I shoot his leg or try to sneak past him and run out? I wouldn't be able to sneak out without making some kind of noise. At that moment, I had forgotten that I was under a bed and sat up. I hit my head hard, making a loud noise. The man turned around. "Oh, trying to be a smart ass with me, huh?" he said. At that moment, I heard sirens. "Oh, shit. You got lucky this time, but you won't be so lucky next time," he said as he started running out of my room. I grabbed his right foot and he fell to the ground. I was holding his foot with all my might when I heard the police rushing up the stairs. They grabbed the man and I crawled from under the bed with my shotgun. The police were pointing guns at me now. I quickly explained everything and the police understood. Apparently, they found the man's van parked in front of my house. When they searched his van, they found knives, duct tape, a camera, and rope. I can't begin to imagine what he would have done to me if I hadn't thought to lock that closet door. The police called my parents and explained to them what had happened. My parents came home 3 days earlier. My mom told me the man had been sentenced to 15 years with a chance of getting parole. We moved from that house a month later. I had nightmares about it, and it took me a long time to get back to normal. I never stayed home alone again until I moved out of my parents' house. I have 3 guns in my house just to be extra careful in case something like that ever happens again. This happened when I was 12 years old. I'm a female, now age 25. The story I'm about to tell you might not be scary to most, but for me and my parents it was. I remember it was a Saturday night around 9 or 10 p.m. during summertime. I owned a dog at the time. His name is Benny. My parents decided that night that they feel like going for a walk around the block and asked me if I wanted to join them. I said no because I wanted to play Perfect World International on my PC. My parents were okay with leaving me alone since the walk wouldn't take longer than 30 minutes tops. As my parents dressed to leave the house, I logged into PWI and looked around in my guild and global chat to see if anyone was online. For some reason, no one was, so I decided to join my parents. I got dressed, put Benny on his leash, and left. I'd like to mention that I lived in an apartment building that had 10 floors and we lived on the very first floor. Not sure how to explain, but you have the basement of the building and then the first row of apartments. Basically, you enter the building and already are facing apartments. I lived in the very first one. I remember always hating that because whomever would pass by our door, we would hear them at any time of the day or night. Whomever was lurking at night, we would hear them. It was somewhat eerie to live on floor 0. Anyway, we leave the house. My dad closes the door. We had 3 keyholes and a steel bar that would block the door from the inside. The bar covered half of the door. Precautions were my father's obsession. We exit the building and enjoy our walk. After 15 minutes, we realize the wind has changed from warm summer wind to incoming storm wind. My mom makes the call to go back home as Benny already did all his duties, so we all return. We open the building door, climb the 5 stairs to our door, and attempt to open it. Dad unlocks the first 3 locks and then attempts to unlock the metal bar that holds the door locked. At that moment, my father pauses, turns around facing us with the most serious face I've ever seen on him, and whispers to us to call the police and ring the neighbor's door. My mom rings the neighbor, who I will call Ted, in the second apartment's door. Ted came out and my dad whispered to him, covering the see-through hole of the door, "Someone is in our house. He or they are holding the door. Please stay here with my family and attempt to open it. I will be back." Dad disappears around the building in the dark. I say dark because we didn't have a street light on the side of our apartment facing the garden. I follow my dad, but not too closely. Just close enough to make sure he isn't in trouble. He's my dad, don't judge me. Suddenly I hear him shout, "Hey, you, come back! Who the hell do you think you are? I called the police!" At the same time I heard him shout, I looked over at Ted, who manages to open the door and enter the house. I followed them inside. It no longer felt like my house. In just 15 minutes while we were walking, the home invaders made a complete mess of our house. All our shelves and wardrobes were pulled out, our clothes scattered all over the house. Benny's dry food was all over the floor, indicating they must have tripped in his bowls, probably not knowing we owned a dog. But what scared me the most was how organized they were. I say they because, after seeing the disaster that was left behind, we knew it was impossible for just one person to hold the door, steal, and organize what they would want to take with them. I say organized because the thieves put in our living room, all packed and ready, what they wanted but couldn't steal. On the couch they placed our laptops, one of our TVs, my father's collection of coins, our phones, chargers, wallets, and even my father's camera. He's a photographer, and that week he had to attend a wedding. They didn't have enough time to steal all of that, so they just settled for some of my mom's jewelry and some pocket money. After seeing this, in my silly child mind, I rushed to my room to check my piggy bank. I always saved up money from whatever chores I did. It wasn't much, but it was my work and savings, and at that time, I thought they stole it too. When I entered my room, I saw the metal bars covering my windows were cut and my window broken. This is how they entered. Through my room. My room is the only room facing the side of the building and the one most secluded from views. Needless to say, I have never felt safe in my own room in which I had to live for the next 10 years until I moved in with my fiancée. When the police arrived, they scattered white dust, I have no idea what that is, all over our house to find fingerprints. They took pictures, took our statements, inspected my room and window. They were unable to catch the home invaders, but were able to tell us that this invasion was not the only one in our neighborhood. During that month, another 4 houses were broken into, one of them being the home of a cop, not related with the cops at our home. They told us that the invaders watched their victims, learned their schedule, even knew where the children's rooms were as they seemed to be entering the houses through the children's windows. All the families affected by them had children. They did not expect us to be back that soon and panicked. Hence, one of them was holding the door with his body so that the others could flee. The person my dad was shouting at in the darkness was probably the one holding the door and escaping last through my broken window. I don't know what could have happened if I didn't change my mind and give up on raiding for gears and PWI. I would probably have come face to face with these invaders. I am happy I didn't. I live in a fairly secure area and have 2 dogs. One is a large Doberman and the other is a poodle. I was home alone as my parents were out for the weekend. Our dogs bark a lot as they are very protective, and the neighbors hated when the dogs barked. They would often leave notes telling us to keep the dogs quiet. One of the more threatening ones was that he would hurt the dog if we didn't keep it quiet, so my parents had them taken to a dog kennel to avoid any complications. I was home alone playing video games and watching movies for the weekend. The night after my parents left, I was playing a video game called Rainbow Six Siege. I was playing with a few friends and I had my microphone on. The window was open and my friends kept telling me to stop making a squeaky sound. "What do you mean a squeaky sound?" I asked. My friend said that it was a loud banging. I took off my headphones and that was when I heard it. The sound of something slamming into the gate. I peeked out the window and saw a tall, stocky man with a black hood looking down, slamming his body into the fence. The fence was weak with wood splitting. Staying close to the window, still watching the man, I dialed 911. I explained to the operator what's happening and she told me to lock myself in a room, to get out of sight and that a police officer was on the way. But curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to continue watching the man. Eventually, the wooden gate broke off its hinges, but the dude stood there strapping something around his shoulder. The angle of the moon allowed me to see it was a hunting rifle dangle on his back. That's when I bolted and hid under the bed. A loud shatter broke the silence. The dude had kicked in the kitchen door and was now walking around the house. It sounded like he was looking for something. He slowly crept up the stairs, and at that moment, I heard the sound of police sirens. That's when I made a stupid mistake. I bolted out my room trying to escape. I reached the stairs and was just about to turn the corner when I smack bumped into this huge lard of a man. The man gripped my neck. As I was about to pass out, the cops banged on the door. The dude looked around, allowing his mask to slip off his face. It was our neighbor. He let me go and went for his rifle, aimed it at me, and pulled the trigger. That was the moment I knew I was dead, but no loud bang, no pain, nothing. I slowly opened one eye and saw him fumbling with the rifle. It didn't fire. The dumbass left the safety on. The police kicked the door down and tased the man. He was charged with breaking and entering and attempted murder. I'm thankful the safety was on, as this could have ended very badly.